going to show you how to complete the petal and leaf beanie. We are going to close the hat and make these cute little leaves at the top. So you can see there's a flat cast off at the top of this hat, and then a little eye cord and a leaf and one on the other side too. So we're gonna work through that. I have a hat here and we'll do the instructions as they're written. So I am knitting one of the larger sizes of the hat. So it said I needed to work till it was 8 inches long. So from the cast on edge all the way up to my needle. And now we actually end up removing the marker to do this bind off. So it says with right side facing, create an exposed seam. So that means we're gonna have a line across the top of the hat. Work a 3 needle bind off as follows. So it says, don't break the working yarn, remove the stitch marker, did that. Get my yarn all okay here. Then it says place the first 36 stitches, or whatever size you're working on, it will be listed here as you know, onto the first double pointed needle. Place remaining same number of stitches onto the second double point. So just as it says, I am going to transfer over 36 stitches onto this needle. It may seem like a lot, but that's okay. And the way a 3 needle bind off is worked is just like a normal bind off, but we're kind of working a front and back needle, but we work them together, almost like a knit 2 together. Okay, I think that is 36. So I'm just gonna try and keep them on the needle. It's okay if it's bunched up, but I'm gonna do a quick count. Okay, so yeah, that's 36. Now I take another double point and I'm going to take these stitches off the circular needle onto this double point. So this should also be the same number as that you put on the first double point. Okay, now we're done with our circular needle and we can set that aside. And now we have 2 needles, the same number of stitches. I'm going to rotate it back around like I'm starting a new round. And what we're going to do is hold these 2 double pointed needles parallel and pick up a 3rd needle. And now we're going to make sure our yarn is coming down just like a normal knit stitch, and we're going to knit into the stitch on the first needle and knit into the stitch on the second needle. So see, they're both on my 3rd double point. I'm going to wrap the yarn and just pull through just like I'm knitting. So it's like a knit 2 together from these separate needles. So you just put your new needle through the back and bring your yarn forward. So I've knit 2 stitches, and now just as in like a regular bind off, I am going to pick the one up and over. And now I'll make 1 more stitch, removing 2, and do the bind off. And this is how you work across all of these stitches. And now I like to keep it a little loose. So this is going to make a flat hat basically, like a standing seam across the top. And now you don't want it to get too tight because that could pucker your fabric. I mean, even though the hat has a fold over to it, still you want to make sure you're keeping a nice tension, just like if you're binding off anything else. Oh, that was that one I had to fix. Okay. So yeah, this is how we just work across, stitch by stitch, binding off across. So you can see if I sort of flatten it out, look at that. There's our hat coming together. And it's just a nice, tidy edge. So I'm going to make my way across and I'll see you at the other side. Here I am at the end of my bind off. You can see that nice edge we have. I have one more set of stitches to go. So we knit those and bind off our last stitch. And now the instructions say that you work those stitches until all stitches have been bound off and no stitches remain on the left hand needles. So we can set those down for right now. Then the next instruction says, do not break yarn or pull tail through final stitch on right hand needle. And that means we're going to keep one live stitch on our needle here. We're going to rotate the hat 180 degrees horizontally so that the back of the hat will be facing us and the front will be on the other side. The right hand needle will stay in your right hand and will hold one stitch. Great. So we have that. Keep it nice and secure. We're going to rotate the hat so the other side, the back, is facing us. With the right hand needle, pick up and knit 2 stitches from the edge of the 3 needle bind off seam. You will now have 3 stitches on the right hand needle. So we have this one stitch and I am going to come in and let's see. I'm going to move my yarn down. Nope, you're going to keep your yarn where it was. I am just going to go in here and pick up a stitch, and then I'm going to go into the next one and draw up a stitch and put those 2 on the needle. So now I have 3 little stitches here on my needle. The yarn is coming out, and now we're going to knit those little I-cord stems that go up to the petal. So, oh, wrong paper. We're going to work this little stem. So that is called an I-cord, and it is worked by basically never turning your knitting. So we have the needle just as we left it, those 3 stitches. The yarn is coming out of the stitch closest to the point. And now what I'm going to do is actually slide the stitches to the other end of my double point, pick up a needle again, and then kind of hold the yarn across the back and knit into the stitches again. So you'll see my hat never flipped over or anything. And now I'm going to do the same thing again. Slide those stitches down to the other end and knit across them. So what this is doing is actually, because we're never turning it, that yarn is coming across the back of the work and it's pulling it into a little cord. like a tube, basically. Like you could make thick ones of these that would have a tube, but 3 stitches, it just looks like a nice little cord. So now we just keep repeating that until our cord measures. Mine needs to measure 4 1/4 inches. So we just keep working. You can see I've not lifted my hat off the work surface. I mean, if you had it in your lap, the hat isn't moving. All that's moving are these needles. Slide them down and go back again. And you can give it a little tug because that helps shore up the back of it. So we just keep working 3 stitches, slide it down, yarn across the back. It feels like a mistake, but it's not. All right, now we have our I-cord. We're going to knit the cute little leaf shape now. It's fun, it's fast. I'm going to put the instructions right here so I can read them as I go. So it says right side, increase, knit in the front and the back, knit in the front and the back, knit 1. Then we should go from 3 to 5 stitches. So you're not intended to turn your work with this one. We're just going to work across, hold our yarn like the I-cord, and then we knit into the front and the back of the first stitch, knit into the front and the back of the second stitch, and knit the third. And now we have 5 stitches on our needle. And now it says here, row 2, wrong side. So we're going to turn this and purl back. Then we turn back again, knit 2, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 2. So those yarn overs are going to give us a little eyelet in the middle, and they happen at the same center stitches on all of these rows. So it kind of makes like the center stem of a leaf. And then we simply purl back on a wrong side row. And now we have 7 stitches on our needle. So we work up. Now we're going to knit 3, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 3. So knit 3, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, and knit 3, and then purl back across. Now we do the increases one more time. And we do knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, knit 1, oh, yarn over, and then knit 4. And that'll give us 11 stitches. So now we purl back across those. Okay, now we're actually going to start going the other way, like making it smaller. But look how cute that is. See how we turned those 3 little stitches into a whole cute leaf pattern? I love that. And now we're going to decrease it down to the point. So we work 2 types of decreases. We work a slip slip knit and a knit 2 together. So the slip slip knit always happens at the beginning of the row, and the knit 2 together happens at the end of the row. So to make a slip slip knit, I guess I did that kind of fast. I always slip mine knitwise, slip 2 stitches, and then knit into the back of them. And then we knit across 7 stitches. And then we knit 2 together. And purl back. So now I slip, slip, and knit into the back. Knit 5. Knit 2 together. And purl back. So we just end up decreasing just like we increased. And every wrong side row is a purl row. So now we only have 5 stitches to work with here. So we do slip, slip, knit, knit 1, knit 2 together. And now 1 more purl back. And now we're going to work a SK2P. And what that is we're going to slip 1 stitch knitwise, knit 2 together, and pass the slip stitch over. That's the P. And we end up with just that 1 stitch on the needle. And now we're going to cut the yarn. Leave a little tail to weave in. So we've cut our yarn. Now we loop that last little tail through and pull it up tight. And now look at that. We have the cutest little leaf. Oh my gosh. Look how cute that is. Look at that lace work you just did. So now we are going to go and put one on this side. So we get our yarn again, and we are going to join our yarn here into these last 3 stitches. We are going to turn the hat back over to the front of the hat. And if you ever wonder what the front versus the back is, if your cast on edge is here, you can see my cast on tail is here. So we're calling this the front because that was the order we were working in. So it's an arbitrary thing. You can, you know, if you end up here or there, it really doesn't matter because they're the same. But we just have to describe a pattern, you have to choose a language, a verbiage, and go with it. So now what we're going to do is come in from these first stitches at our 3 needle bind off. So I like to get those edge stitches, and then I take my yarn and I wrap it around just like I was gonna knit. sometimes. And then you just pull up that loop. Then you come in to the second one. Make sure you don't have your tail. And pull up a loop, and the third one too. So now here we are back at our 3 trusty little stitches, and we're going to work the I-cord and another leaf. And then I'll show you how it all comes together into that cute little kind of origami fold up here. Here's the hat before we block it, so you can see how curled this is. And we're just gonna either steam block it, or I'm gonna show you how to wet block it, and then it will be ready to go. Okay, I am going to show you how to wet block your petal and leaf. Here I have a bowl of lukewarm water, and I am going to add a little bit of soak wash. This is a wool wash gentle laundry soap that you can actually leave in, so you don't have to rinse your project after using a product like soak. So I actually use soak all the time, so I'm just going to use it from my full-size bottle. Put like a teaspoon in there and swish it around. And what soak is going to do is kind of just take all the grit and grime from knitting. You know, your hands have oils, it's touching your, I don't know, your dog touches it, whatever. Anyway, it also just helps soften your knitting as well. And wet blocking is going to help even out, you know, we can see these little bit of, you know, tension changes, and it's also going to help flatten these curling stitches. So we just put our finished project right in here, right into the water, and you want to make sure it is nice and saturated. So I get in there and I let the bubbles kind of squeeze out. You don't want to be you don't need to wring it. You don't need to, just gently submerge it. Let the bubbles work their way out of the yarn. And you want to make sure that it is fully saturated. So you want all those fibers to have some water on them. So now you can see it's totally changed. It's all floppy. And so what I'm going to do now is set a 15-minute timer, and I'll be back again. You don't want to leave something blocking like overnight, or you just want to give it, you know, like a half hour, 15 to a half hour. That'll be fine. There's still a lot of air in this Baba Bulky. But you can even see, I can see here, my water, like the water is kind of murky already. So we're gonna leave that and come back to it in about 15 minutes. You'll also need a towel. And if you have blocking mats, that's great. Not necessary, but I'm just gonna use them. So I'll see you again soon. It's been 15 minutes, so now I am going to drain off the water from my petal and leaf hat. And now you don't want to wring it. If I were over a sink, I would just gently press this. I would dump the bowl and just gently press this against the side of the bowl. But, you know, get the water out. Stop dropping the petals back into the water. Okay, so now we have a damp pile of knitting. I'll set my water aside. And here we have I just have a hand towel here. So we can take the hat, lay it out, and then we'll just kind of roll it up on itself. And you can do you can have yours out more, whatever, but just fold it up into the towel, get it all in there like a nice snug in a bug in a rug, snug as a bug in a rug. Thank you, Ben Franklin. And then you just squeeze it out. So the towel is going to sort of just take the water away and put it in the towel. So now you can see the hat is damp, but doesn't have that kind of mass of water. And then I am going to put mine out on blocking mats. You can lay yours out on the towel. That is totally fine. I just have my mats here. So I'm going to lay the hat as I want it to be. I'm gonna pull it a little just to set those stitches, because a lot of what blocking does is actually sort of tell the yarn where you want it to live now. You know, you had it in a skein, it came off a mill. Now you're training the yarn to be in its new home. So that is what blocking does. So that little bit of moisture here is helping to set those stitches. So I'll slide this down. So yeah, for the ribbing part, I like to kind of just make sure it's not stretched wide. You know, ribbing is supposed to be bouncy, so, and stretchy. So I like to kind of give it a little pull back and just make it smooth. Just make sure it's straight. And then I kind of smooth out the hat too. And then up here for our petal and leaf, these we want to be able to sort of see the eyelets. So I am going to just make sure they are laid out nice. Now, if you have pins, you can use them. I don't feel like it. Got my end there. So, and the other thing I'm not going to do on this hat is stretch the cords, because they don't need to be any longer. So I'm just going to let them kind of live as they are. And then like I said, I'm going to make sure those little holes on the leaves are open. Make sure the edges aren't curling. And then I am just going to leave these here until tomorrow. So that way the hat can fully dry. I'm not going to touch it. And that will set the stitches. So I'll see you again tomorrow and we'll fold up the hat. Here we are again with our hat. It has been 24 hours and you can see the leaves are nice and flat. The hat itself has evened out. So yours might take a little longer to dry or shorter depending on the temperature and time of year and all that stuff. But what we want to do now is make the little knot at the top. So we're going to take our little stems and kind of fold them up and together so that the top of the hat makes that kind of neat envelope thing. So the way I like to think about it is if you rotate the hat, it kind of spaces out for for a head to go in there. And so what we want to do is kind of, like I said, kind of pull those sides out the other way, and then we'll take our stems and fold one over the other, you know, left over right, right over left, little square knot. If you are Girl Scout or Scout at all, not girl. And then if you kind of square those corners, like if you've ever sewn a bag before or anything like that, and you get that top little, I mean, you have to imagine there's a head in here too, so it's kind of, but we can rotate the knitting, and there you go. Kind of makes that nice little fold. And then, yeah, once it's on a head, it comes out, I promise. You'll get the nice, cute little combo there. So that is how you put together the petal and leaf. And I hope you have a great time knitting yours. And I hope this video was helpful. So enjoy your petal and leaf and let me know how it goes. Happy knitting.